Bum, 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 bum. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We do not mess about when it comes to certain guests coming on the show, and today is no different. We've got, are you ready for this? Because I always do nice introductions, and I've leveled it up this time. So we've got the co-owner of Manchester United's longest-running YouTube channel, Stretford Paddock, with a whopping 721,000 subscribers. He's interviewed legends like Sir Alex Ferguson and Andy Cole. He's a highly respected individual in the Salford area, and of course Eccles as well. And he's not afraid to tell politicians how he feels on Twitter. Of course, it's the wonderful Jay Motty. How are we doing? How are we doing, brother?
That's the greatest intro I've ever had in my life. I'm serious. I'm going to clip that up. I'm going to play that to myself every morning when I wake up. That's going to be like my alarm clock.
Motivation.
Yeah, motivational speech. Like, this is why you need to get out of bed in the morning, kid.
Yeah.
Keep going. Do you know what I mean? When times are tough, don't worry about it.
You've got to remind them, you know what I mean? Try level up sometimes.
What's the phrase? When you're good, you tell everybody. When you're great, everybody tells you.
There you go.
So.
There it is.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? I'm not even going to have a dig at you for not mentioning the fact that I'm a multi-award-winning journalist.
Oh.
Also an award-winning filmmaker as well. I'm not going to bring that up.
No.
Well,
because you've said enough.
In fact, I'm actually saving that for the next couple of shows we do. So it'll just level up each time then. And obviously I'll get to a certain point where I run out.
Next.
I like what you're doing here. You're making sure I come back on this channel.
Yeah. Next time he's on, he's going to have his like awards behind him on the desk, just so you can sort of see.
That shelf there with them books.
Yeah.
My awards instead.
There it is. There it is.
Anyways, we're here to talk football, but before we talk football, Jay, I want to ask you some questions that are more important than football, if you can imagine such things.
Talk to me.
Films. I know you're big into your films. We touched on it last time with your horror films and how you're not into them. So I wanted to give it a bit more within your ballpark. I want you to give us 3 films that everybody should see before they die. And then
love that.
And then I want you to give us 3 films that you've seen and you absolutely hated and you want to save somebody from going to watch so they don't have to bother.
Right. How many that I need to see and how many that was it 3, sorry?
3 each.
Broke up then.
3
each. So 3 that you've got to see before you die and 3 that you never want to see because they're terrible.
Yeah.
Right, that's a really good question. Now, this is one of the best questions I've heard. Right, so 3 that I want to see before everyone's got to see before they die.
Yeah.
Dead Man's Shoes.
Top film. Agreed.
It's a classic. Yeah. A classic. I'm gonna go with Big Lebowski. It's another one of my favorites.
I'm loving this list already.
Yeah, Sam
I'm
loves
loving
that
this
film.
list.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorites. And do you know what? I'm gonna throw a little bit of an obscure one in, because I feel like I've told you films that everyone will have seen.
Yeah.
But I want to throw in a film that people might not have seen, but if you haven't, you should watch it. And it's The Limey. And it's one of my favorite films, right? And you guys will like it as well because if you're into your editing and stuff like that, it's quite good. Steven Soderbergh, who obviously made like Erin Brockovich and the Ocean 11, 12, 13 films and Traffic and Sex, Lies and Videotape and all that. But for me, it's his best film. It's a superb film. You'll love it. You guys, trust me, you guys will love it.
I've not heard of it.
Go and check it out.
I've never
heard of it. It's quite low budget for him.
Yeah.
And it was when he made this when he was just sort of getting big. Because after Erin Brockovich and Traffic, he's sort of out of sight as well. Yeah. And he went and sort of made this film with Terence Stamp and Peter Fonda and a few others, sort of old school actors. And it's not a big budget film, but it's class. It's about, I'll tell you a quick story about it. It's about a British gangster who goes to America to avenge his daughter's death. It's just mint. Go and check it out.
I'm putting that on my list, man. I did film at uni. It's very rare someone mentions a film that I haven't heard of or I haven't seen. And that's one I haven't heard of or seen.
Yeah. It's really good, really good. 3 films that you should avoid. Right, 1. This is quite ironic.
Here we go.
The title of it.
Yeah.
The Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh, the Will Smith film.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh my God. The pursuit of trying not to jump off Barton Bridge. Honestly. It was so depressing.
Yeah.
I tell you what, don't watch that if you're not in a good place because it ain't going to cheer you up. It's going to make you...
Despite the title.
A bottle of paracetamol. Yeah. And then the payoff at the end is like a minute. So you sit through 2 hours of just horrible, awful nonsense, right? this guy's going through it all. It's so depressing. Oh my God, he's lost his house and his kids, and he's homeless and he's living in the sewers and he's got nothing going on for him. His missus is leaving him. He's getting robbed and then right at the very end, it's like everything turns out all right. But it is not worth waiting those 2.5 hours for. It's awful, horrible. Yeah. Another one is Vantage Point. This is aggressively bad, this film. It is shockingly bad, right? This is one of the few films where I actually went to the cinema to see it. Because I went through a phase, right, of just going to the cinema a lot.
Did you walk out?
No.
No, okay.
I don't think I did. But at one point in the film, everyone groaned collectively. Everyone went, oh. Because it repeats the same scene over and over again from different perspectives. And there's loads of plot holes in it. It is just a terrible film, right? Terrible. There's another film that I watched years ago that's called Crazy Beautiful.
I've heard of that one. I haven't seen it, but I have heard of it.
No. You know, sometimes, right, you might with your missus or whatever, and you'll get a film, and you'll think, oh, she'll say, let's watch a little bit of a, something different. Well, you think, this looks all right. We'll stick this on. We could both watch this. No, you can't. It's utter drivel. It's awful. Honestly, it's one of those films where you stop it halfway through and you think, is this a joke? Like, is this real? And you know what? You've got me on a roll here, so forgive me. You said three,
go.
I'm going to throw one more in. And I'm going to end on this. This is the worst film I've ever seen in my life. This makes the other three I've just mentioned look like Oscar-winning epics. Yeah. Like David Lean or Francis Ford Coppola at their best, right? It's called City Rats, yeah? This is how bad it is. It's Danny Dyer's worst film.
Oh, my God.
Yeah? Honestly. That's how bad it is, yeah? Wow. Danny Dyer, who by his own admission has made countless awful films, because he was just making films for like whatever he could get his hands on, money-wise. Yeah. This is his worst film. It is awful. It's one of the few films on Rotten Tomatoes that has got 0%.
How have you seen this? Why did you see this?
Because, right, I used to live with my pal, right? And he used to get like snide DVDs, but you think if you're going to get snide DVDs, you get good ones.
Yeah.
You get like top of the range films that are out in the cinema. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, here's the latest Denzel Washington or Tom Hanks film, whatever. But he didn't. He got snide DVDs for this kind of films you get in the post office. It's like, what is this? Like, this should be this. Don't watch it on this snide DVD. If we turn on Channel 5, it's on now. Like, what are you on about? And he goes, oh yeah, like, we'll stick this on. And we started watching it. And it was so bad, and we were like, this is awful. This is genuinely terrible. I don't know if I got all the way through it. I don't think I did. Wow. I think I got about 40 minutes in, and I just thought, we both said, we cannot continue. Do any more of this. No. It is awful. Because it's got, I think, Tamer Hassan's in it as well. I quite like him, but it's dreadful. Dreadful.
That's a good job. I've not heard of that one, so I'm glad that I can avoid that. I'm not a big fan of Danny Dyer, it is, but there you go.
No.
There you go.
After Human Traffic, it was downhill.
Yeah. Although his Britain's Hardest Men or whatever it was is funny unintentionally. Like, I like watching it for comedy, but I know it's not meant to be.
His Who Do You Think You Are is one of the best hours of television ever. Like, have you seen it?
No.
On the beat, it is, right, unintentionally funny. He's hilarious, right? He doesn't mean to be. He just is. And it's him tracing his ancestry. Hilarious. Also, I saw, there's a clip, you can probably find it, of him talking about Oswald Mosley and the black shirts and all that. Again, unintentionally. The guy can be funny. He doesn't mean to be. He's just a funny guy.
Yeah.
But that film was shocking.
I'm definitely looking that up straight after this. Nick, just keep you involved. Quickfire. Top 3 films. Top 3 worst films.
Top 3, I'll do it quick. Mine are going to sound so fucking basic now after that list. But I like my 3 favourite, Interstellar. Huge fan of that. That's probably merged into number 1 now. Prisoners with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah. And then Dark Knight as well, as you know, like Dark Knight's one of my favourite films.
All fantastic selections.
Worst 3. Starship Troopers. If anyone has seen Starship Troopers, I watched it.
I have seen it.
It's when I used to smoke the devil's lettuce, and it was the first time I've watched it, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? It was like the weirdest shit I've ever watched in my life. Barbie, because I was forced to watch that with my missus, and that was I just did not have a clue what was going on throughout the full thing. And then any cheap, shitty Christmas film that is out there.
Like Hallmark, like the Hallmark ones.
Yeah, like you just know what's going to happen. It's just so anything like that, I'm just not a fucking fan of. So and make sure everyone in the chat gets theirs in as well, because we want to hear yours.
What's yours?
Mine? I find it difficult because mine changes like every year. Just because I watch so many.
I hear that. Mine changes every day. If you ask me tomorrow, you get a different answer. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think Inception's probably number one. Christopher Nolan again making another appearance.
Nolan.
Yeah, and then there's an old film from the German Expressionism. I'm just gonna sound like a fucking film nerd now. From 1926 called Metropolis.
I thought Fritz Lang.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say Metropolis. Yeah, when you said German Expressionism, obviously I weren't predicting.
Amazing. For the year it was made, then the way it looks is just amazing.
Yeah.
And then third, I probably agree, Nick. I'd probably put Dark Knight. If not, if you want me to be different, I'll put Old Boy in there, because I think Old Boy is a stunning piece of like Korean cinema.
I'm guessing. Yeah, I was about to say you're not talking about the Josh Brolin one.
I didn't even see it. I didn't see it, so I couldn't.
No,
I couldn't tell you.
You don't.
Worst Space Cowboys. I don't know if you've seen that with Tommy Lee Jones and stuff.
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, awful. Fucking couldn't stand it. The Good Shepherd with Matt Damon and De Niro.
Oh my god. I grew a beard watching that.
Yeah,
How long was that on for? It was about 3.5 hours. Man.
Just 4 hours, and I was just like,
"What's happening?"
I've had like mental health issues like throughout my past, and I was considering ending it right there. Like that was
that sounds like a
fucking abysmal. Yeah. And then I unfortunately watched Green Street 2, not the first one, Green Street 2, and it was, honest to God, I could have made a better film on my phone. And
Green Street's a classic. I don't.
No, the original, the original, the second one.
Oh right,
second one is.
I don't know if I've
horrific,
seen the second one,
just awful. Don't watch it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there you go. So
you know what though, right? For some of them, like, I'm gonna dig at you, bro, but
no,
Green Street 2. You ain't sitting down and watching a great film if you're watching that. Like, you almost know that's going to be terrible. Because Green Street 1 was awful. So Green Street 2, I think, more the same. Some films you think you can kind of forgive them because you think they feel a bit like gyro films. Someone's got a gyro and said, let's make a film. Like, we've got 100 quid, so we just knock a film together. Yeah. And it kind of says that, you can kind of expect it. So it does what it says on the tin. You know what annoys me about certain films? It's when you've got, like, money and talent and
still
the expectation is
and it's still awful. Do you know them ones where it's like it's got loads of stars in it? Like you didn't like Space Cowboys.
No.
Like you think of the budget for that. It's got all these Tommy Lee Jones and Clint Eastwood and James Garner or whoever else is in it. And then it's it doesn't do anything for you. Pursuit of Happiness is another one where I hate it when films have got big budgets and you feel
got no excuse, have you? You just got no excuse.
Yeah.
I just want to read out the tracks a couple in there before we dive into the actual football talks. People are like, what's going on here talking about film? It's real Red Salt today, if you know what I'm saying. It's a little bit different, a little bit of a twist. Right, we've got, so let's have a look. I think Vantage Point was good. Well, the idea of it, says Sylvania's Child. Peter Desrick says Times release Glazer is part of Football Sporting Decision. That's not a film.
No.
Don't know why I read that one out. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the greatest film ever.
Good film.
David Pearson. I have to admit, I haven't seen that. Don't know why. I've never ever seen it.
Classic.
Mission Impossible, Black Panther. There's loads of random.
I saw He-Man with Dolph Lundgren is pretty bad. I've not seen that, but there you go.
Me and Steve were talking about this on the brew the other day. I went to cinema to see He-Man. Yeah, it's one of those films where as a kid I loved it. I've watched it now, I probably think it's terrible. I wanted to get your thoughts on Marvel films. What do you think of the Marvel films? Because they divide opinion, especially film connoisseurs like yourself.
I was into it up until Endgame, and then since then I've kind of fallen off a little bit, and I'm not enjoying them as much. But all the way up until Endgame, I was absolutely into it and loving it. And then the most recent ones, I've kind of just, they've not been as good.
I thought that climax in Endgame, or
it's
not even
perfect.
Climax,
Perfect.
Where with your man Captain America, and he's like Avengers Assemble. Considering that took like 29 films or whatever it was, or like to come to that moment, I thought it was brilliant, and I took my lad to see that, and he was jumping up, punching the air when it kicks off. So yeah, big fan of them. I've not really bothered with it. I thought Black Panther was decent. A big fan
Black
of
Panther's
Chadwick
amazing.
Boseman. Rest
Fantastic.
in peace. But yeah, I was never. I'm not like a comic book fan, so those films I thought were good because it was like you don't have to be a comic book fan to get it. And also, I'm as you well know, a middle-aged man from Salford and took me lad, and we both enjoyed it.
Yeah, there you go.
He was 6 at the time, and I was, 25.
Yes, absolutely.
I think the stories sometimes could be a little bit obvious. That's the issue for me. Whenever I watch the film, you kind of know what's going to happen. But like I said, they've got huge budgets as well. Some of the biggest in fucking Hollywood.
You seem to spend the money well though on those films. Like they've got top tier talent in terms of the actors and everything because everyone's kept their role. Like you've got Chris Hemsworth as Thor, you've got Mark Ruffalo as Hulk. I know there's been a few Hulks, but it's all like the big stars are all there.
Yeah.
Like every sort of main player is in it, and the effects are good as well.
Yeah,
and it makes sense. I just think I think it's got a bit of something for everyone. For me anyway, because I'm not usually a comic book fan, but humor, action, bit of drama as well. You get emotionally attached to some of these people, don't you?
I think that's 100%. The problem with the new ones. I'm not emotionally invested in the new ones, so I think it's lessened the effect of me. Whereas the first Iron Man came out, you sort of connected with it and built.
But that was a long kind of saga, wasn't it? It went on for fucking ages, man.
Do you know what? This is what does mine right because I'm with you on this. I'm a bit basic when I watch films or something. I have to have someone to root for. I have to give a toss about him. Do you know, like, one of the things I hated about... Have you ever seen Mad Men?
Yes.
No.
Right, I'm sorry.
They're all assholes, aren't they? They're all dickheads.
Yeah. I don't like any of them. I just genuinely don't. I wouldn't care if, I know it's real life, so it wouldn't happen, but if they went to war with the USA and they got nuked, I just think none of these people, like, do anything for me. They're all knobheads.
Yeah.
Like, they're all horrible. There's not one of them who's likable or, he's all right. I quite like, no. They're all just horrible, selfish sex offenders, and it's like you don't root for any of them. No. So, if bad things happen to him, I don't care.
No,
and I won't mind, right? I gave that about 2.5 series. Honestly, I gave it long.
Lasted longer than I did. I gave it a series. I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore.
And I thought, why is everyone raving about this? And then I just thought, you know what? I can't do it anymore. Honestly.
Yeah. That's what it feels like as a United fan in a minute, doesn't it? Being a bit of a fucking.
You've been like me on off the bar. You're like trying to bring this back to United.
That's Nick's job. Nick's job.
Me and Sam are running away with it.
We don't care.
We're doing this. We've turned it into the brew.
Yeah.
And you're trying to turn it into the Paddock podcast.
I've got a fucking list of things there. I'm like, I can segue from that.
We spoke to Ian Irving from when we went to Talk of the Devils live. And he was chatting and he's saying, when he came on board, he was like the steady hand on the ship to keep it on the sort of straight and narrow because Laurie and Andy were just going all over the place. Yeah. This is Nick's job.
And Carl as well.
Carl,
you can imagine. Carl, my favourite thing. I love Carl. I love all those guys, top guys. We've had them on the channel. I've known them all for years. And I love it when Carl was on the overlap. And he said to Gary Neville, he said, have you ever heard of the 19th century philosopher?
Yeah. You've got 40 minutes. You've got 40 minutes, mate. Like, come on. Fucking hell.
The 19th century philosopher. Oh, yeah. He read up... I can't remember the name of the guy you mentioned, but it don't matter because I guarantee Gary Neville hadn't heard of him.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought that's Carl Anka, man. He's just like... He's so different, isn't he? I don't know anyone like him, but he's such a good guy, Carl.
Yeah.
He really is.
He's on our list. Like, we want to get him on the channel eventually. We definitely want to get him on. So
listen, he'll do it as well. Like when he's free, he's a busy guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll come on because he's done it with me on a few podcasts I've done, and he always brings his A game as well. Yeah. And one of those people, like when he was on the Brew, it was about football because even Steve was like, quiet and listening to him, and them two sort of know each other as well. So it was really, he's a really good guy. And I think let Sam have him on him. You've not had him on by them. I'll tell him to give you a shout.
Appreciate it. Cheers, Jay. Should we talk about football? I know. It's boring, isn't it?
Hang on a minute. Do you know what though? There's light at the end of the tunnel, lads.
Okay.
Because just before I came on here, I looked and I saw online, so it must be true.
Yeah.
That Sergio Reguilon and Sofian Amrabat and Kobe Mainu are in training.
We're gonna.
So we only need another 8 players, and we've got a team.
We're going to get into that, don't you, Woody? We're going to get into that. First one, what I really wanted to talk about, because obviously the big story broke. Well, biggest story so far for United is Sir Jim Ratcliffe. 25% stake, apparently, in Manchester United, wants sporting control. There was supposed to be a board meeting today, but apparently it's not going to happen at this board meeting. It could be delayed till past the January transfer window. Obviously, it's United, so why would it be on time? I know there's the pluses and minuses for both bidders, for Qatar and for Sir Jim, and I know you've been through it, Jay, many times on Paddock and what have you, so I won't drag you through it again.
No, let's listen.
I've got a different question, so don't worry. What do you think with Sir Jim? What do you think the potential positives are with a Sir Jim bid if it is to succeed? Obviously, it needs to be ratified and what have you, but say it goes through, what do you think the positives are to come from this?
I think sometimes people look at things as a negative when they can be a positive.
Yeah.
And what I mean by this is, I was chatting to McCullough earlier, and he made a good point. I'm not disagreeing with him. He was saying about his concern is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe, 71, just turned 71 years old. Now, I'm sure he's got the best doctors in the world, and he looks like he's a healthy, pretty lean guy. I'm not saying he's going to be pushing up the daisies anytime soon, but he's not going to be around for the next 40 years.
No.
He's in the twilight years of his life, or the autumn of his life, shall we say. So there was that. Maka was making the point of like, what happens if he does die, or when he dies, he's obviously going to die. What happens with all this if he's been waiting for years and years for him to take over, and he's got this staggered way of taking over, and then is that the end of it? And I think this is the point that I've heard about Sir Jim Ratcliffe years ago from Kieran Maguire when he first suggested to us on Paddock that Jim Ratcliffe could be interested in United. Now, Kieran Maguire runs the Price of Football podcast.
Yeah, we've had him on. As well.
Do you know what, lads? You do well, man. I'm not belittling your channel because it's fantastic, but you get some really top tier journalists on. You do, and I'm always impressed. Well. Yeah, thank you. But like, I know you Kieran Maguire is a top guy. Understands football finance as well as anyone out there. Like, gets it. He's a massive football fan. He writes and podcasts and speaks about football finance. You turn on the BBC, Sky, ITV, wherever. He's the go-to guy.
I've got his book as well. Like, I've read his book. Like, so
he knows. And a couple of years ago, he said to us, he said, look at Sir Jim Ratcliffe. That bid for Chelsea was not a proper bid. It was hey up, lads, Glazers, I'm up for buying a football club. Because that bid for Chelsea was late and it was less than anyone else. Right. What chance did that have of succeeding? None. And he's not stupid, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. You don't become Britain's richest man by being an idiot. He knew what he was doing. He was sending a message out to the Glazers. This is what Kieran said, and I trust him. He said the thing with Jim Ratcliffe is he's 70 is what I think he was at the time, or 69 at the time. He's thinking about his legacy. He's thinking about, how am I going to be remembered? What difference am I going to make in this world? Now, he's already done the whole smashing the business world thing. I don't think there's ever been I don't think there's any British businessmen that have ever earned or been as worth as much as him. I think he's literally like Britain's richest man and the richest businessman there's ever been in Britain. I don't think anyone's been worth 30 billion or whatever it is he's worth. So he's smashed the business world. He's done other things as well, like British cycling and other stuff. He said he'll want to leave a legacy at Man United, and that legacy could be the guy that turned things around for Manchester United and that got Manchester United going. He won't want to leave a legacy of the guy that just wrecked Manchester United or kept the Glazers in at Manchester United, because that's going to be a pretty bad legacy to leave, where people remember you as, that's Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He's the one that gave the Glazers a lifeline. He's the reason that they kept the club. He's the reason they're still there, because he doesn't need that hassle, for starters. He doesn't need that in his life. Like, I'm just going to go into United, spend some money, and everyone's going to hate me. And I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to improve anything. Plus, another point as well that is worth thinking about. Does Sir Jim really and truly want to be second fiddle to the Glazers? Does he want to come in and, yes, he might have control of sporting or football inside for the time being, but ultimately they're the majority shareholders. If they want, they could pull the plug on it. If they want, they could say, look, this ain't working out. We own the majority of the shares. Thanks, but no thanks. There's got to be some sort of structure or safety net in place for him to keep that full control and also eventually buy all those shares. So that's what I'm hoping. That's the positives I look at. I think I'd be very, very surprised if this 71-year-old Mancunian came in just to maintain the status quo at United, just to keep the Glazers in and just to spend £1.5 billion for the privilege. That would be spectacularly stupid. And he ain't stupid. He might be a lot of things. He might be ruthless. He might be driven. he might be a little bit unscrupulous in some of his dealings or whatever in terms of what he's done for the environment. People have been throwing, shading him in that respect. But is he thick? No. And that would be a ridiculously thick move. So I'm hoping that isn't the case. I'm hoping it's a case of he wants to be the guy that came in and sorted Manchester United out and got Manchester United back to where we should be. That's the positives I'm hoping for.
I have an issue with two of the things for me with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. One, he's done fantastically well in sport. There's no kind of arguing with that. If you look at his track record in sailing and all the other kind of things, cycling and stuff he dips into. It's Nice that I look at as a project, and since he's gone in there, that doesn't seem to have gone too well if you look at the history. And I'm thinking Manchester United, with all due respect, compared to Nice, is a completely fucking different beast, especially at the moment with everything that's going on. So that's one thing that worries me. And the second thing is how much control he's actually going to get. I know they say sporting control, but I've just seen a report as well that, Joel Glazer's going to get to sign off on certain things as well alongside him. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm not totally convinced. I hope he can do right, but I'm not there at the moment. I have to give it time, I suppose. I wanted to ask you, on to Jim Ratcliffe, if you was, let's say, put yourself in his shoes or loafers or whatever it is he kind of wears, and you were going into this kind of abyss that they call United, what's the first three things on your priority list that you're addressing?
It's a really good question, that. Really good. There's three things I think. The first thing I would do if I was Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the very first action I would take is speaking to the fans, whether that's a statement, a press conference, a fans forum, whatever. Get your message out there, because this is your opportunity, your only opportunity to make a good first impression. You've already got the fans back up, because a lot of people have looked at this and gone, the Glazers are staying. Don't hear any of this other noise. All I hear is the Glazers are staying. And that's not criticising fans for thinking that, because I'm there myself. I'm like, hang on a minute. When that strategic alternative statement was released in November last year, we all thought this could be the end of the Glazers at Manchester United. And you're coming in, and what you're telling us is that it's not the end of the Glazers, they're staying. So you need to talk to us. You need to let us know what exactly is going on. Now, I'm not naive. I know he's not going to come on. Or come on, he might come on your channel, you never know. But I know he's not going to do a press conference or a fans forum and go, the Glazers are awful. They've been terrible owners. I hate them. I'm going to get rid of him. He can't do that. But what he can do is explain his plans. He can talk us through it. He can say, look, this is the deal I'm making. These are my ambitions for the club. This is why it's going to be different. Now, that might not solve a lot of problems, and it might not placate everyone. In fact, a lot of fans won't care what he says. He could say anything and they won't give a toss. But it's a step in the right direction. I think he needs to let people know what his plans are, because otherwise you're going to get a lot of misinformation, a lot of worry, and a lot of people who are just against him from day one. And we need to improve the atmosphere at the club. And I'm not just talking about inside the ground. I mean like the general atmosphere around United, the aura almost of what we've got. We're divided, everyone's angry, it's a shambles. We need to sort that. So that's number one. Mm-hmm. Sort out the relationship with the fans and what your intentions are. You can do that easily. Yeah, you can give a fluffy interview to MUTV where you already know the questions, but you know the questions you need to answer. Do you know what I mean? So you're not coming on and just going, oh, tell us about how you made all your money, but you're coming on and you go, look, I know I've got to answer these questions, so let's do that. Second thing I'd do as well, and it sort of ties in the first one, is address the infrastructure. Shiny new signings are all well and good, and we all love shiny new signings. I love signings more than I love trophies. I'm all about signings, yeah. Transfer window is my heaven.
Yeah.
But it's no good having players coming in or players going whatever if you've got a stadium that's got a roof that's leaking, that isn't going to be part of the Euros in 2028, that just isn't fit for purpose. You lads go there week in, week out. If you're over 4'7", your knees get squashed. You're getting rained on even when you're under the shelter.
Toilets explode, piss all over the floor.
Toilets explode. Yeah. There's nothing there if you wanted to go early and take your kids or whatever and make a match day experience. What experience are you getting at Old Trafford? There is nothing there at all. Yeah. Now, I don't like doing that anyway, but people will want to. We are a global club, and I appreciate and I respect that. And if you've flown over from, I don't know, Scandinavia or Florida or whatever, to spend the day at United, let's go to ground early. Let's, soak it up. Let's make the most of our trip to Old Trafford. What are you doing there? There's an ounce in it. Yeah. The only thing to do near the ground is Old Self football, which has nothing to do with the club anyway. It's Gary Neville and his lot. So I'd sort out the infrastructure, not just the stadium, the training ground. Say, look, I'm not saying you're going to build it straight away, but go, here's my plans. Let's start. The plans are we're going to break ground on a new stand or whatever, new stadium in 2025. Okay, sound. Training ground, we're going to invest 500 million. We're going to get it as modern and as state of the art as it should be and as it was in 2020. Fantastic. So that'd be my second thing. Thirdly, a football structure, because I still don't think we've got one. I still think we are not run like a proper, serious football club. And I'll explain myself because people will go, Jay, what are you on about? We've got Eric Ten Hag, you've got Darren Fletcher, you've got John Murtagh. That's kind of a structure that works. Is it? Is it?
No experience. No experience from Darren Fletcher or John Murtagh or Richard Arnold for that matter. No
Richard Arnold. What's going on there? Where have we seen that cohesive relationship and structure working? For far too long under Ed Woodward, we had people like Ed Woodward calling the shots. Basically, almost felt like he was making signings at some points because managers were getting players they didn't want. He wanted Fred. Jose didn't. I'm not knocking Fred. Thought he did all right at times. But Jose didn't want him because he kept him on the bench.
Donny van de Beek, Ollie didn't want him.
Donny van de Beek, Ollie didn't want him. So players under Van Gaal, Ander Herrera was sat on the bench for ages and he was playing Wayne Rooney in midfield. He obviously didn't say, go and get me Ander Herrera. So who did get him? So you had that, which was a shambles. Then you have it the other way around where they've just gone to the manager. Who do you want? Tell us. Your call. And he's gone, right, I want Anthony. No. Well, I really want him. 100 million. Right, we'll get him. I want Martinez, who's been a good sign. I'm not knocking him.
Mm-hmm.
I want this player because I've seen him in Dutch League. I want this player because I've seen him in Dutch League. I want this player because he used to play at Ajax. I want this player because he used to play at Ajax. I want this player because I played against him once. I want this player because I coached him once when he was like Vitesse Arnhem or whatever. You cannot have that as your way of doing things. You have to have help for the manager. You have to have a scouting department for the manager.
No other club does it that way. No other club just goes, manager, you pick who your players like. Pep has got Tiki Bergerstein and all these people above him. Klopp has got the guy who just left. I forget his name. Brighton, they've got a structure. That's the guy. Brighton have got a structure around them and stuff like that. The manager, like Roberto De Zerbi, is not going, I want this guy and this guy. They're going, we found these players. They fit your system. Which one do you want? And then
he was Milan's barber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there isn't a proper structure. So you need to get it in place. Now, if you want to get rid of all those people, Darren Fletcher would be a tricky one because he's a bit of a legend within the club. I think you'd probably lose a lot of fans if you started getting rid of him. But John Murtagh, I wouldn't lose any sleep if he got sacked tomorrow.
Yeah.
What's he done? Now, Richard Arnold, I don't know anything about him. I've not really got any skin in the game. If he gets moved on,
Woodward's
fair enough. Yeah, it feels a bit like the old era anyway, so it might be a call to get rid of him. So that would be the third thing to do. Those would be the first three things. Then you can worry about signings. Then you can worry about, whatever else you're going to do. You're going to do anything to do with branding or I don't know, whatever. Just focus on the three priorities. Communicating with the fans, letting them know your plans, dealing with the infrastructure at the club and the actual strategy and transfer structure and managerial structure, if you will, at the club as well. Because I think those are the three most pressing issues and then the rest will fall into place.
Yeah. So I'm in total agreement. Let's go on to something a bit more positive. You mentioned it just before when we sort of derailed the show with the film talk. We've got players coming back from fitness finally, which just seems like an age since we've had an actual fit defensive line and players that we can actually replace and substitute and what have you. Like you said, Reguilon's near in fitness, and when he has played, he's looked, from my personal opinion, he's looked good. Like he's looked decent. Yeah. Kobe Mainoo, who looked absolutely vital to plans this season until he got that unfortunate injury against Madrid in America. He's training, I believe. I think Varane's back in training as well, I believe. Shaw's still a doubt, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I mean, the list is endless, the amount of injuries we've got. But we're getting players back, which is the good thing. Who are you looking at over the next sort of couple of weeks, months, who you think is going to be key to sort of helping our season succeed? And who personally you're looking forward to seeing? Is it Kobe Mainoo? Are you just looking forward to getting a defensive line that's actually set and ready to go? Like, who are you looking at and thinking this guy's going to sort of help our season?
The one I'm most curious to see more of at the moment is Sofyan Amrabat. And I'll explain myself because I think you've seen bits of him to see. This guy has got some quality. He has. Now, I feel a bit sorry for him in the Galatasaray game because he fell off a cliff, didn't he? And he gave the ball away and they scored. And he was playing at left back, which is not his preferred position. He was obviously knackered as well. You could see he was running out of steam. And I feel like we've not seen the best of him yet. I feel like if you get him settled in a midfield, which is itself settled, then we can see what he's about, because he's a player I don't know a lot about at all. I watched one Fiorentina game and I watched a few Morocco games. And I ain't going to lie to you. It's not like I was watching Morocco going, Sofian Amrabat, he's the guy for me. I barely remember him. And that's not criticising. It was, you're watching World Cup games every day almost, aren't you? And, he did well, but it wasn't like I was like, oh my God, this is the Sofian Amrabat World Cup. So I'm curious and I'm interested to see more of him, because I think there is a player there. And I think that he could fit into United really well. And he could be just the type of player we need, who's comfortable on the ball, seems to have a good engine and could stick a foot in as well. So out of those players you mentioned, Amrabat, the only reason I didn't mention this other player first is because I don't want to put too much pressure on him.
Yeah.
But Kobbie Mainoo.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Kobbie Mainoo is the be-all and end-all this season. Yeah.
Ballon d'Or.
Yeah. I mean, give it 18 months.
Yeah,
I suppose.
Yeah. But he's a very, very exciting young player, very talented young player. I was gutted for him in that Real Madrid game. Gutted. Yeah. I was at that game.
I was going to ask you if he was at that game.
Yeah, because we made the trip to Houston. So we did the Snapdragon game, which was the Resis. And then we flew to Texas. We actually flew to Dallas because I wanted to see where JFK got shot. But it was an issue with the car thing.
I
remember the story.
So I had to drive anyways. Didn't get to that. Got to Houston. Got to interview Wes Brown. Great evening. United got turned over by Real Madrid.
Yeah.
But the big loss, I couldn't care less about friendly results. It doesn't matter. But I was gutted for Mainoo because he got injured straight away in that game. It was like in the second minute or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Really disappointed for him because I felt like he was on that trajectory during that pre-season where he had a worldie against Arsenal, absolutely dominated the midfield against Declan Rice. I think he has a good game against Jude Bellingham, which I think he's capable of, or at least holding his own. Then you look at it, you go, listen, if he can play well against Bellingham and Rice and players like this, he's Premier League ready.
Yep.
We didn't get to see that, but I am very excited and I'm hoping he comes back from injury and he's fit. I hope we use him in the right way. Because the last thing I want to see is us throwing him in constantly when he's not ready. Use him in the right way, build him in gradually. But I think over the course of this season, we'll see more and more of him. I'm excited to see that because I think he could be a real player for us. Maybe not this season as such as being a regular, but next season or the season after, he could be up there with some of the best we've had. And I don't say that lightly because I've seen some, very good midfielders from Manchester United. And it's only early days for the kid. But he was in the academy team when he was, 15, 16?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, he's... He looks like he could be the understudy for Casemiro. Obviously, Casemiro's on a slight little bit of a decline now, 31 years old, isn't getting any younger. So I'm really excited to see Kobbie Mainoo. I thought it looks exciting in pre-season. He's got a lot of assets that we need in that midfield as well, if you look at where we've been struggling at the moment. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing an Amrabat, Mainoo and Mount or something like that, to be honest with you. And I think we might actually see that at some point this season.
Do you know what was good to see as well? I agree with what you said as well. But it's good that Jude Bellingham was there that game in the mix zone, and Kobbie Mainoo walked past and he went over to him, and said keep your chin up sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which was good. And it just made me really angry that we didn't buy Jude Bellingham.
What's he done though? What's he done, Jude Bellingham?
He's gone to, where's he gone to? What's that club he's gone to in Spain? I've never even heard of him.
Not done anything, has he?
Royal Madrid, is it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
No, he's been fucking tearing it up, mate. Absolutely tearing it up.
Just insane.
Yeah, insane. Makes you think. It kind of gives me the perfect segue though, because I wanted to speak about Jadon, obviously Bellingham, knowing Jadon, etc. Talk about young players as well. We've got all these players coming back from injury and things like that, but we've still got this kind of Sancho cloud ongoing for whatever reason it is. We don't know the actual specifics, but why do you think it hasn't worked out for him specifically? Do you think it's the pace of the league? Is it the constant change in environment, or is it maybe a matter of other exterior kind of things outside of football?
Might be a little bit of all of those things. I mean, I don't know Jadon Sancho, or I've not got any inside info, but if you look at how he was doing at Dortmund in that last season, his numbers were ridiculous. I think it was 36 goal involvements in 39 games, including 2 goals, I think, in the German Cup final. and also drove them towards Champions League spots when it looked like they were out of that race. His second half of the season, he was just like, look, let's do this. And he helped get him over the line. So there's when we got him, you think, wow, this kid, he's young, he's English, so he knows England. And the reason I say that is not because I'm going full Brexit, but it's because you want someone who's not going to be unsettled when they get here. It's like, oh, some players just don't acclimatise.
He knows the league. He's played at City, innit? So
like Di Maria was fantastic. When he comes to Manchester, never settled, was gone within a year. So you think, okay, he knows Manchester, he knows the league, he knows the like, you know, the language and everything. He's going to be like at home, if you will. So it shouldn't be an issue. And I feel like with Sancho, when you go from Dortmund to Madrid, to Manchester United, sorry, thinking about Bellingham again. When you go to Dortmund to United, that's when you've got to kick on yourself. So maybe you've got to do that little bit extra in training. Maybe you've got to sort of keep your fitness levels that little bit sharper. Maybe you've got to do a bit more than what you had done. Because what's been good enough for you in Dortmund, when you've got Bellingham and Haaland alongside you, and when, you know, most of the games you're the favourites to win that game, not all of them, but most of them, the vast majority of those games, you're going in and you're the favourites. Then you're coming into a Premier League where you're coming into a United team that is a bit erratic. It's competitive. In the Premier League, you can play the team that are 15th and get turned over if you're not careful. So you have to bring your A game. And I don't feel like he did that. I don't feel like he really kicked on. I feel like he stagnated maybe. Maybe he didn't even get worse. He just got the same and it wasn't enough. But then you look at fitness. He didn't always look fit. He seemed to fall off a cliff at 60 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like 60 minutes, he looks knackered.
It was like Eriksen, wasn't it? Because Eriksen, obviously, he's got a different kind of thing. But yeah, the 70th mark, 60th mark, always seems to go off.
He kept getting subbed for a reason. Some of those performances were after the 50th minute, you go, what is going on with him? I remember one at Stamford Bridge where he got subbed last season, where he was having a stinker. Nothing was going right for him. You think, what is going on here? I felt sorry for the kid. So there's that. Also, there's just little things like, you hear these stories and these rumours that he can be a bit lackadaisical with his timekeeping. He stays up late. Things like that. And you might get away with that at Dortmund. You might get away with it when you're 19, 20. When you're 23 years old, whatever he is, and you're at Manchester United and they've paid 73 million quid for you, and we're trying to have aspirations of winning titles and challenging at the very top, you've got to look after yourself better, bro. You've got to do those little things. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous. Go to bed on time. Make sure you're eating the right things. Make sure you're coming into training, you're up for it. Make sure you're performing on the pitch. And we're just not seeing enough of that. And in final answer to your question, the point you made is right one. I think sometimes the pace of it is he's struggled with a little bit. He's not rapid, Jadon Sancho. He's not slow. People see slow. He's not. He's quite quick over like the first 5 yards. He can get himself away from someone. I think over a long distance, you probably fancy a quick defender to beat him. But he's not really adapted his game as well to suit the Premier League at times when it is a bit quicker. So if you've got Marcus bombing on, you've got Andy bombing on, and then you've got Sancho, who's maybe not as quick as those players, trying to keep up, it's difficult. But he's got the talent to adapt and to make the most of it. I just don't know if he is adapting. I just don't know if he's adapting on the pitch or off it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I wanted to sort of continue on that with the Sancho situation. Obviously, there's rumours he might be shipped off in January to Dortmund or wherever it is. Do you think players, like nowadays, it's a very different situation? Do you think players hold a little bit too much power in terms of like how they sort of approach teams? So like obviously under Fergie, if a player stepped out of line or disagreed or something, he was done. That was it. It's over. There's no questions. Actually, you're absolutely gone. Whereas under Ten Hag, there's been a couple of players who've sort of stepped out of line. Ronaldo, most famously, Sancho now. Garnacho did, but he's brought him back in. He's punished him.
Marcus as well.
Marcus, exactly. And players have responded, and then other players have not so much responded. Do you think the buck has to stop with the manager? Like it's the manager's job, you have to keep these players in line? Or do you think players have to start taking a bit of responsibility? Or do you think there's somewhere in the middle where they can sort of be a mediation where players like Sancho can be brought back in, but also understand that the manager's the boss and he's in charge and you have to take some sort of responsibility, but you can't be the sort of the old school thing of you're not doing what I'm saying, like go on or chuck a boot at him, or you know what I mean, like under Fergie days and stuff like that. Do you think there's something needs to be sort of done there?
I don't think I get your point, And I don't think Erik ten Hag is old school like Fergie. I don't think he's that aggressive as
No,
Fergie was.
I don't either.
I think Erik ten Hag is exactly the type of manager United have needed.
Yeah.
Someone who could come in and go, look, little things matter. Turning up on time when you're at United matters. You're not working at Greg's. You're playing for Manchester United Football Club. If I say we're having a team meeting at 10 a.m., get there for 10 a.m. It's not even that hard. You can do it. So do it. If I say this is the way it is, that's the way it is. Compromising gets us nowhere. We had a bit of that with Ole. He kind of let players get away with it a bit. Where's Pogba? I don't really know, but don't worry about it. It'll be all right. Harry Maguire, I'll never forget his last game, Ole's last game, gets 2 yellow cards in the space of 5 minutes, 2 proper stupid yellow cards. And one of my bugbears in football is when someone gets a yellow and then does something stupid afterwards. You're on a yellow card. You know you're on a yellow card. Don't go to ground. Yeah. So what does he do? Goes to ground, lunges in, gets sent off. And all he's high-fiving him as he's walking off or shaking his hand. Why? It just cost you your job. There was too much of like the lunatics running the asylum under Ole. And I liked Ole, but he couldn't crack down when he needed to.
Very friend-like, wasn't it, with the players?
Yeah, you can't be the mate. You're dropping these players. You're the one who's got to tell them off when they're not playing well. Can't be the bezzy.
Well, he didn't drop him, did he? That was the issue. Like, he just kept playing the same team. Even though they let him down, he kept playing the same team.
And standards dropped then naturally. Yeah. Just
standards drops, heads drop, players didn't want to know, and it showed on the pitch. So I think Erik ten Hag is exactly what you need. I'm old enough to remember when Fergie came in. And I know I've said he's different from Fergie, but it was a situation when Fergie came in where you had these players like Whiteside, like McGrath, like 1 or 2 others who were just getting levered all the time, weren't taking it seriously. And he came in and he was very, very strict. And he got rid of some popular players. He sold Norman Whiteside. Norman Whiteside was a very popular player. Paul McGrath, ask anyone over a certain age. Yeah, he's one of the best centre-backs we've ever had. And he sold him because he's like, look, I'm trying. I can't get them to do what I need them to do. So they moved them on. And I think that's what it's got to be like with Erik ten Hag. If he can't get Jadon Sancho to sing from his song sheet, sell him. Sell him to Dortmund. Just get rid of him. No point in trying to compromise with a kid and going, I'll tell you what, you can come in late now and again. You know, right?
But then everybody else is just going to fucking do it, innit? That's the thing.
You've got Garnacho going, hang on a minute. When I was late, or Rashford going, hang on a minute. I was dropping 30 goals last season. I was late and you dropped me from the Wolves game. What's going on here? You've got to have it your way. These are the rules. Everyone sticks to them, whether you're Cristiano Ronaldo or when you're a teenage Garnacho. You stick to it. And that's what he's got to do. And that's what Jadon Sancho's got to realise. If he can't abide by that, off you pop. And the thing is, Jadon Sancho probably doesn't realise it now. Probably not fully sunk in. But he might look back at it in a few years and go, I never got near a club like United again. I never got near. We might knock this team and say we're not good enough for this, we're that. Manchester United is the biggest club in Britain and it is one of the biggest clubs in the world. It just is. Yeah, there's no 2 ways about it. You go back to Dortmund, that's not a sideways step. It's not a step up.
Yeah, you're regressing.
Back down. It's like being promoted and then being demoted again.
Yeah.
And you might end up at Dortmund for another 3 or 4 years, and you might get a move at the end of it to Spurs. Let's say, for example, just plucking a team. Are Spurs the size of United? No. Or you might go somewhere like Everton or wherever, or Villa. And you might end up doing 3 or 4 years there, doing well. You might end up, getting a few England caps along the way, maybe picking up a League Cup final appearance or whatever. And at the end of that, you end up at Watford or somewhere, grinding down your career. And you look back and you go, that was it. That was my chance at United, to go to a club, to do something special, to get in the England side and be an England regular. And I blew it. And I think that's what might happen with Jadon Sancho. I don't see him go to Dortmund and then in 2, 3 or whatever years' time, go to Madrid or go to Bayern Munich or go to back to United or whatever. I think this is his opportunity to play for one of the biggest clubs in the world, and I think he's thrown it away. I'm sorry to say, I am.
I think that's why you see a lot of players kind of consolidating with him as well at the moment, trying to get him to change his decision and trying to lean him back towards that way. Because, like you said, it's regressing if you do go back to Dortmund, and then it's a shame really, because I think he's got the talent. From what I saw in Germany, he looked like a serious player. But it's just not worked out for whatever reason. We are coming towards the end of the show. Have we got any quick fire questions at all, Sam, in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a gander. I'm just looking. There's people still talking about films, which is really, really
funny. Sorry, I had a quick one just before you think, Sam. There was a report from Chris Wheeler yesterday, Jay, that certain players that had signed still haven't done their initiation song yet. Just curious to know what yours would be if you was to sign for United today.
Well, anyone who watches Stretford Paddock will know I do a mean version of Under the Sea. So I'd probably go with that one. Yeah.
What's Under the Sea? I don't know what Under the Sea is.
Under the Sea. Under the sea.
Little
under
Mermaid.
the sea. Darling is better. Down where it's wetter.
Thought that,
Take it from me.
Surely
Yeah,
not. Is it
man.
that? Oh, right. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you do that in front of 23 squad players, managers, coaches. You'd be nail that, yeah?
I'd do that with my chest out, bro. Don't you worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm bringing the Disney vibe here. I'm all right, though. I've got 3 kids. Otherwise, it'd be mega weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
Question from Michael Hill. Jay, what's it like working with a tall guy with a strange outfits?
Listen, Joe Smith, yeah, he's a legend. He is. Because I've never met anyone who just doesn't give a toss. He will come in dressed like he's playing for a baseball team. He'll come in wearing double denim. That kid, he just doesn't care. He'll have it. And I fully respect that. Do you know what I mean? He's an original. And yeah, he's a good guy, Joe. He's my boy. He's up the mountains, I think, in Ben Nevis for the next week. So yeah, it's always difficult when he's not around.
There.
Yeah, he might be. But it's difficult. I've done about 8 videos today because no Joe. I have to sort of it's just you know what I mean, pulling everything together. But yeah, he's always good copy, and he takes it on the chin as well when he gets a bit of grief. The only bugbear I've got with Joe is because me and him do a show on a Wednesday, Paddock podcast, Paddock Live, standing up.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't realise how tall he is. So when I meet people in real life, they always say to me, I didn't realise you were that tall. I always thought you were dead small because I'm not that tall. I'm just under 6 foot. But I think they all think I'm like 5'5" or something, and he's like just normal height. No, he's like 6'5" or something. He's proper tall. Yeah. So that's why there's like a height difference. Not that I'm dead small. It's just he's mega.
Yeah. DB Cooper is only one Jay Motty. That is my question. Fair enough.
I know that kid. He's always in the Paddock chat. Good lad, him.
Very
good
nice.
lad, DB.
Very nice. Jay, if you could have one guest on Paddock today you haven't had on yet, who would it be? That's from Brian Casey, who's also a legend of.
Yeah, I love Brian.
Yeah.
Keno.
Yeah, that'd be so good.
That'd be good.
He's so fucking good. I was thinking that yesterday. I was watching a clip of Roy Keane talking about Fergie, and I was like, he'd be so good to have on just to chat for even if it was half an hour, man.
Because you know what with Keno as well? You're getting answers, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
You're getting... you referenced the Andy Cole interview that we did. And the good thing about that was he gave us real answers. He didn't care. He wasn't like... He was honest. He's brutally honest. And he knew how good he was. And he spoke about that. And he spoke about not getting his flowers. And it was meant because it was just raw, it was honest, and it was a good laugh as well. So yeah, I'd go with Keno.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that is it in terms of questions. Yeah.
There's
just a lot of compliments for Jay, which, yeah, it's always nice to hear.
Well, it's nice, lad. It's good timing as well, that lads, because I'm about to I think I can get to 33 now. It's due in 9 minutes. Perfect timing.
Well, let's get
that,
eh? Let's wrap it up very quickly.
You know the 33, the quick bus. So
I do.
Yeah, you know the one. Even out of 10, it is, isn't it?
Yes.
67. You don't get the 67? That still goes.
If I've got a bit of spare time and I don't mind a bit of scenic route, I'll get the 67, even the 100. Do you know what I mean? It's all good.
Yeah. Well, we've covered almost everything possibly on the planet in this chat.
Can I just say, lads, this has been honestly one of my favourite ever podcasts.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Love coming on your channel. Love the vibe you guys have got. You're knowledgeable. You have a laugh. Don't take yourself too seriously, but you can do the serious stuff as well. And it's always good to chat to Red, who as passionate about his club as I am. So yeah, I always enjoy it.
Can I just say as well, thank you for all the help you've gave us. Let us come on the Paddock, jumping on shows, promoting our stuff, all that stuff. We appreciate it so much for a guy on a channel on the level of you guys. That's what we aim to do. So we appreciate it as well.
No. You guys are always welcome. We'll get you on again soon. We'll do this again on my channel.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds really, really good. Thank you for everyone watching. Please do leave a like on the video for us. Subscribe to Real Reds Talk. If you aren't subscribed to Stretford Paddock and you are part of our community, then do subscribe to them as well.
And Scotty and Motty as well. Subscribe to Scotty and Motty.
Scotty and Motty as well.
Well worth it as well.
Got me out of trouble there. I forgot myself.
There you go.
Yeah, cheers guys. We'll let Jay get the bus. See you in a bit.
Peace.